Greetings, I'm Zachary Hepner. I'm pleased to share this torah with you for Parashat Bamidbar. There are many major themes in the Bible, including God's hand in history, the notion of a chosen people, the Torah, of course. One theme that spans the entire Bible is boundaries. Right here might be fine, but don't go there. There is beyond the boundary. While Bamidbar starts with a census and lists, immediately follows the census is the description of the Israelite encampment. The penultimate and often overlooked verse following the census alludes to the Israelite encampment, alludes to the significant role the Levites will play in the book of Bamidbar. The desacrilation of the firstborn, the sanctification of the Levites' roles, the challenge of Korah in the priesthood. This is the first verse to start off the Levites as a tribe that is excluded from the census and assigned different roles. V'ata hafkedet haLevim al mishkan ha'edut, v'hem yesharotuhu v'saviv lamachaneh yachanu. You shall put the Levites in charge of the tabernacle of the pact, and all its furnishings and everything that pertains to it. They shall carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings, and they shall tend to it, and they shall camp around the tabernacle. They shall camp around the tabernacle, and one who encroaches the holy space shall be put to death. The theme of taking boundaries seriously may be seen both in the Garden of Eden and Mount Sinai and the death of Nadav and Avihu. In the Garden of Eden, God prohibits Eve from consuming a particular fruit. However, she relates the command to the serpent differently. Umi pri ha'etz asher b'toch hagan, amar Elohim lo tochlu mimenu v'lo tigu bo pen temutun. It is only about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden that God said, you shall not eat of it or touch it, lest you die. God commanded, don't eat, but Eve tells the serpent, you shall not eat of it or touch it. She adds that part to the commandment. On Mount Sinai, prior to the revelation and the Ten Commandments, the verse similarly says, you shall set up bounds for the people round, saying, beware of going up the mountain or touching the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall be put to death. Lo tiga bo yad, without being touched by either stoned or shot beast or person, a trespasser shall not live. When the ram's horn sounds the long blast, they may go up the mountain. The border around the mountain is certainly a serious boundary, but there's more. Parenthetically, this Torah connects Bamidbar to Shavuot. It's apropos considering that Parashat Bamidbar is always observed at the time of Shavuot. But back to more on the Sinai theophany, my Avi Mori further observes that the ultimate commandment in the Decalogue is the law to literally set up for yourself boundaries. The last commandment in Deuteronomy, in the Decalogue in Deuteronomy says, thou shalt not covet. V'lo tit'aveh beit re'echa sadeu ve'avdo ve'amato ve'sharo ve'chamaro v'chol asher l're'echa. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. The word tit'aveh, covet, means you shall not cross a boundary. Don't cross that thick red line. This word is similarly used in its perfunctory sense in Numbers 34:19. V'hit avitem lachem ligvul kedma mechatzar einan shefama. For your eastern boundary, you shall draw a line from chatzar einan to shefam. The word means to set up boundaries, and it would seem that the last of the Ten Commandments is a summary of Commandments 6, 7, 8, and 9. Don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't commit perjury, velo titaveh, don't violate the established boundaries. This further supports the notion that a physical boundary was established prior to the Sinai theophany, and the notion of respecting boundaries is intrinsic in the Decalogue. Now to Nadav and Avihu. They violate the boundary by bringing incense and entering the Holy of Holies. This echoes Numbers because the law of bringing incense in Exodus follows the prohibition of taking a census, something that is performed in the first chapter of Numbers. Whether a violation of the census, of the Exodus census, in the book of Numbers is a violation, that is a separate discussion. I think that the serpent with Eve was very clever. Eve had set up a boundary of touching, and the serpent told her about the benefits of becoming enlightened, or literally, it will open your eyes. While the Levites set up to protect the boundary from non-Levites, the final verse of Parashat Bamidbar foreshadows and forewarns even gazing with your eyes at the holy vessels. See, the Levites had to bear the weight of the tabernacle, the heavy parts of the vessels. Apparently, it is much less problematic to gaze at the building materials and the pieces of wood, but the family of Kahat in Shevet Levi were assigned a particular task of holding the holiest of those vessels. The Torah instructs, cover the holy vessels before the Kahatites. Hold those vessels when traveling. Let Aaron and his sons enter the Holy of Holies when moving these holy vessels. V'lo yavo lirot kavala et hakodesh v'metu. Again, as my Avi Mori points out, that verse is a foreshadowing of the ultimate fate of Korah, because they are swallowed by the holy. But let the Kahatites go inside and witness the dismantling of the sanctuary, lest they die. Kahatites may touch the holy vessels, but they may not gaze at them. Doesn't that echo something with Eve? Eve viewed herself as a non-Levite, who may not look and also not touch the fruit. In fact, Eve was more like a Kahatite, who may touch the fruit, but may not eat from it. The misappropriation of roles is itself a violation of boundaries. Nadav and Avihu acted like the high priest, and Eve acted like a non-Kahatite. A misappropriation of roles. The nature of the census adds meaning to boundaries because it tells you exactly who you are. Don't go on the journey and then find yourself. The message is, find yourself and only then go on that journey. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom.